rug. How do we make it so that it just sticks to the floor? And welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games and board gamey things.
Exactly. And today we're talking about being quick.
Jamie says she's really, really fast.
I'm very, very fast. Today we're talking about quick games, snappy games, games that you're like, we only got 15 to 30 minutes. What can we play? What can we squeeze in?
That's what people say.
Yeah.
I only got 15 to 30 minutes.
I only got 15 to 30 minutes.
I usually think it's 15 to 20. I got 15 to 20 minutes.
Nah, I say 15 to 30 for sure.
You don't.
These are games that
Nobody
you can play in under 30 minutes. So maybe it's a lunch break. Maybe you're tired at night. Like last night, Jeff was like, I want to play some games.
That happens to me all the time.
But I don't want to play games. I want to play some quick games. I don't want to play those heavy games. I want to play some quick games. 15 to 30 minutes
I'm a
is what he said.
heavy game during the day type of guy.
Yeah, like at 12 o'clock right now. Mm-hmm. We've got 10 quick game recommendations for you if you've only got 15 to 30 minutes.
Are we going to do this in 15 to 30 minutes?
Yes. Ready, go. Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay, the first game that we are going to recommend is, of course, a button shy game because obviously there'd have to be one on the list, and this is called Squabbling Goblins, and this is an 18-card wallet game. Basically, with this game, you are just trying to screw the other person over and get as many points as you can. It takes like 15 minutes to play. Each person has a row of 3 cards, and you are playing out cards either to activate, what's the thing called? To activate the stack ability, which happens immediately, maybe letting you switch around some piles, or you're going to put a card face down, and that's a secret. Okay, it's secrets, and you flip that over at the end of the game, and that will tell you other things you need to do, like maybe you gain points or switch piles or do something like that. Very quick, very mean, very fun, 15 minutes, and the best thing about this, like I said, we played it last night, this is a great travel game. It's perfect.
I very much enjoyed it. It reminded me a little bit of like playing War.
Yeah.
But it's like way faster.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of manipulation. There's only like 3 piles.
An element of surprise.
And it's
also
basically like whoever has, other than the end game like trigger cards, it's whoever has the most cards basically. A card counts as a point.
It's like great. Squabbling Goblins. 15 minutes fun.
Next up from Lucky Duck Games, we have King of 12. This game has, I feel like, hit or miss for a lot of people.
Oh, really?
But we very much enjoy it. King of 12 is basically a dice manipulation card playing game where everyone has the same cards in their hand, depending on which card variants you choose to use. And those all have action abilities on them. Like it might say, adjust opponent's die by -2 or whatever. What you're trying to do is have the highest amount of points at the end of the round. If you do that, you get to put one of your cards in front of you to signify that you've won a round, but you don't have access to that card any longer. First person to win 2 rounds wins the game. The cool thing about this is if at the end of a round, people's dice match, like let's say we both have 7, we cancel each other out. We're out.
We're out.
So then someone that might have like a 2 wins the game.
Yes.
Or wins the round, sorry. And you just keep going around and around till someone wins 2 rounds and then the game's over. It can happen super quick. What's really cool is there's a bunch of different cards in here with a bunch of different abilities, so each game's going to be different if you so choose it to be. Very much enjoy it. Easy to play, easy to learn. Had a lot of fun playing it.
Quick setup. That's the other thing. Most of these games, with the exception of I think one, has a really, 1 or 2 has quick setup. Like Squabbling Goblins, this is 18 cards. That one,
dice and some cards.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it, baby. Speaking of just some cards, the next up we have is veggies. That was a weird way to say that.
It was.
Next up, we have veggies from DeVere Games. This is just a game about you're building out a veggie market. You're trying to build out different sets of different veggies. So maybe I'm working on carrots and bananas, and maybe Jeff is working on strawberries and what else is in here?
Bananas.
Blueberries. What I am going to be scoring on is my largest sets, but I'm also going to be scoring on Jeff's largest sets. Now, if I see that Jeff is working on bananas and I, for some reason, am like, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to work on bananas too. cancel each other out. Then they don't cancel, but then we only get to score 1 instead of 2. It is a very simple, puzzly type of game that you can play in 20 minutes, although I do think you could very easily play this at 2 players in probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
It is super fun. It's a great little lunchtime game, great travel game, and we have played it at 2 and 4, and I have enjoyed it every single time.
Next up, we have Critters at War. So this is basically the cute version of Air, Land, and Sea.
The better version.
Which is a very cool 2-player dueling game where you are competing over theaters of war, air, land, and sea. And ultimately, all you have to do is win 2 of the 3 theaters of war. You do that by placing out cards, which have different abilities, but also have an inherent value associated with each card.
Yeah.
And whoever has the most points in each theater of war will win that theater of war at the end of the round. But what's interesting is, if you don't think you're going to win a theater of war, you can actually retreat, because there are situations in this game where there's no way you're going to win a theater of war, and if you retreat, you're forfeiting the round, but it's going to give the winning person less points.
Yeah.
So you can kind of risk it and be like, well, maybe I can get to the end and turn this around and win a couple, and then score full points. But if you don't, you're basically handing your opponent a decent chunk of points at the end of the round. And that's basically how it works.
All right, the next up, people, is one of my new favorite games of all time. That's Loose Caboose.
Loose Caboose!
This game plays in around 20 minutes, it says, although I do definitely think you could play this quicker at 2 players. Now, this game is push your luck, fun in a small box. It's fun, okay? I don't know how else to explain it besides the fact that it's fun. Basically, you have a caboose, and you know what? You don't want that caboose to get loose, so you are playing out cards from your hand of different train tracks. Now, the train tracks have different values, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, if you lay down a 1, then you roll 1 die, and those die have train wheels, wagon wheels on them. So, if you roll, I don't know, but it is a wagon wheel. I don't know what that has to do with a train.
It's a train wheel. I understand your point that it looks kind of like a wagon wheel. It looks like a wagon wheel. It's not. It's train.
They rock you, mama, like a wagon wheel. If you roll 1 die and there's 1 wagon wheel, 1 train wheel, you move the train 1. But if you roll it and there's 2, you move it 2, etc. If you play a number 3 card, you would roll 3 dice. If you play a 4, you roll 4 dice. You can also play matching cards. So if I want to play a 3, but I have 3 3s, I can lay them all down, and I still just roll 3 dice. What you're trying to avoid is the caboose getting loose off of the tracks. So let's say I laid down a 1, and I placed a 1, and I rolled a die, and it gave me 2 wagon wheels. Rorge, because I'm off the tracks.
Are you purposely saying wagon wheel to annoy me? I feel like you are.
Then if I do that, I have to take a penalty, which means I have to take a card off of the back of the train tracks and add that to my penalty pile. You can get rid of penalty cards if you get another one that matches that number. They're gone. But at the end of the game, you're counting up how many points you have in your penalty, right? Because that's bad.
Lowest wins.
Lowest what? No.
Yes. Lowest penalty points wins.
Oh, lowest penalty points. I thought you meant lowest score wins, and I was like, no.
Well, technically, yes. Lowest score would win, because my lowest score would be 0 if I had no penalty points. Yours would be like 6, so I would win.
Right.
Everything I said was accurate.
It's super fun. Loose Caboose. That's the game.
All right, next up from Level 99 Games, Bullet Heart.
This is the one that has a bit more of a setup.
It does. That's the biggest drawback to this game.
But you play it over and over and over again, like we did.
This is anime. Someone described it as anime Candy Crush.
Yep.
And they nailed it.
Crushed it.
Bullet Heart, you are basically manipulating a bullet track, bullets on your player board that you're going to be drawing from a bag, and it's all timer. It's all based on a timer. It's a real-time game. And those bullets are kind of manipulating down your player board, and eventually they're going to hit you if you cannot get rid of them. You're trying to achieve different patterns of those bullets in order to remove them from your player board and race against the clock, basically. What's really cool is bullets that are removed from your player board actually will be given to your opponent and put into the opponent's bag for the next round. Yeah. And ultimately what we're trying to do is just get rid of bullets and survive the rounds. It's very quick to play. Again, it's all based off of a timer, so the game is only going to last 15 minutes. It only can last 15 minutes, but it's very difficult. One we always play and are like, yep, let's go again. Let's go again.
Because I die so quickly every time that we have to. It does not take us 15 minutes usually, because I'd be done. And
there is a like an online timer you can find for this game that adds like anime music to the timer, which is really cool.
Okay, next up on the list is a game that I have been raving about and finally got a copy of. Thank you to Michelle from Second Star to Left. Go check them out. This is Downtown Farmers Market. And let me tell you, I freaking love this game. It says you can play it in 20 minutes. That's accurate, because we played it the other night and it took us just about that much time.
Yeah, I was going to say it was around there.
Basically, in Downtown Farmers Market, this is kind of like a puzzly type of game where you have a grid of different objectives that you're trying to meet. As an example, you want to have exactly 3 corn and 3 bread in this column. However, there's also an objective on the row. So you gotta try and get as many objectives as you possibly can. It's a 4x4 grid, and then you are drafting different veggie tiles, or like produce tiles. That's the game. It's very simple, but it's very puzzly. It can lead to a little bit of analysis paralysis, but it's
and a
fun.
Little hate drafty.
Definitely hate drafty.
Because every time on your turn, you take a tile to add and you remove a tile.
In a 2-player game, you definitely do that. So you can kind of look over and see what your opponent is wanting, and you can remove the tile that they might need, which is what I did the whole game. Anyways, this game is so fun. It's adorable.
Next up from Gigamike or Gigamic, I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Gigamic.
Acropolis. Acropolis is a very quick, I would say this is maybe one of the longer games we have on this list. I would say this is encroaching around 30 minutes.
Yep.
Depending on player count. This is a 2 or 4-player game, which is interesting.
Don't get it twisted.
At 2-player, I think you could play it way quicker than 25 minutes. At 4-player, you're probably taking the full 30 minutes. Acropolis, you are basically laying out hexagonal tiles, and all of those tiles have they're basically representing different regions of a city. And those cities are going to, or those sectors are going to score differently at endgame. You're laying out a city plan, but you can actually build on top of those tiles as well, at the detriment because you're blocking something that you're placing on top of. But there's more victory points for sectors if they're higher up in your city. Some of the city sectors are wanting to be on the outskirts of your city to score. Others want to be attached to a merchant market, or the merchant market wants to be close to this thing, and that's
surrounded by different things.
Yeah, or surrounded by different sector types, and that's basically the game. Big puzzle. The chunky tiles are really, really fun to play around with, and it's just, in my opinion, quicker than like a Ginkopolis or like Llama Land, if you like those types of games.
Yeah.
Much simpler, much quicker to play, and pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it's fun. Next up, we have a more party-ish style game, and that is Campy Creatures, and this is from Keymaster Games, plays in around 25 to 30 minutes. This game is all about like bluffing and deduction and that kind of thing. So basically everybody, much like, what other game did we talk about? Much like King of 12, everybody starts with the same hand of cards, and that is a hand of monsters. Then we're going to be putting out different types of like victims or different types of people onto the board, and at the same time you and your opponents are going to be bidding on whether or not you want to take those victims. And it's the highest number monster will get to choose first, etc. All of the monsters also have different abilities, so you might lay one down, it might cancel out the effect of another monster, it might make that other monster a 0, it might do different things. So there's, you know, there's an element of trying to remember what the other person played, because you want to be able to make sure that you can like read their minds a little bit to play something that's going to beat them. Basically, you're collecting all of these different victims because you're trying to score points for the end of the game, and the different types of victims score in different ways. So like the assistants score in one way and the teens score in a different way. So you might want one, I can't remember exactly what the scoring are for each of them, but you might want one diver, but you don't want 2 because it cancels out the first one unless you get a 3rd. So like you're doing a little bit of set collection.
The assistants are like set collection, so the more assistants you have, the more scoring, the more points you're going to score.
Yeah.
archaeologists are like worth a set amount for each one.
Mm-hmm.
The divers are actually worth negative points, so you don't want divers.
This game is so fun and it's so silly, and I do think it would play, you could play with up to 5 people. We've only played it at 2, but I think it would play best at 5, but it's just very quick because you're just going through the rounds and you're playing your cards.
It's very good, yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun, and I love the artwork.
Yeah, if you like the old like horror movie tropes.
This is a great game for spooky season. We have one last game, which is also on my side, and that is called Featherlight, aka Jabba the Bird.
Jabba the Hutt Bird.
Jabba the Hutt Bird. Now, for those of you that love Fantasy Realms or Marvel Remix, well, guess what? This is basically another variation of that. Everybody has a hand of feather cards. Those feather cards have different values and different objectives on them in order to score points for the end of the game. You are trying to optimize your hand. Now, what's different about this one in comparison to the others, like slightly different, there is a circle of feather cards in the middle of the table, and you are going to be drawing from those cards and placing down or placing on top or drawing from a deck and doing the same thing just to try and get the perfect set. And you are looking at the cards in your hand to score points off of the cards not only in your hand but also from the circle of feathers.
The nest, yeah. The
nest, one might say. It is great. I love this game. It's a nice little change up from Fantasy Realms. It's beautiful. Like, it's just feathers, but they're so pretty, and it's fun, and it's mean, and it's...
I'm very bad at this game, but it is unique that you not only are you scoring what's in your hand, but you also have to manipulate the middle board between the players to make it make sense for your hand. And
then you can kind of see, like, why is Jeff taking so many purple
or like
feathers?
Why is he stacking all of his cards into one pile?
Into one pile.
Because there might have a feather that says you score points based off of however many cards are in the largest pile in the nest.
Exactly.
So you can like identify that, especially a 2-player, and be like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing.
And there could be one that's like, there needs to be exactly 2 green in the nest.
Yeah.
And so if somebody keeps covering up your green, they're going to notice that you keep trying to put out 2 green. And anyways, it's really, really good. It plays, it says, in 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, is what I would give this for a 2-player game.
This is the little Potu bird.
Potu. His name is Polly, and he's very, very cute. Anyways, those are 10 games that you can play in 30 minutes or less. If you're short on time, you got 15 to 30 minutes, which is what most people would say. Let us know down below in the comments, what are some of your go-to quick games that you like to play when, you know, you're not feeling like playing a 3-hour game or whatever it might be. You're not feeling like a ton of setup. You just kind of want to sit down and play something quick. We would love to know. But that's everything we have for you today. If you're interested in buying board games like any of the 10 that we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
Heck yeah, it is. Don't forget, we are fastly approaching Foster the Game-a-Thon on March 4th. We have released the schedule on Twitter, so the lineup is pretty great. We have Before You Play, we have Covray, we have Ruel, we have the Brothers Murph, well, just Nick. Not Mike, he's abandoned us for Ireland.
Minnesota Nick.
Minnesota Nick is going to be there. We've got Thinker Themer, we've got Table Knots, and Seconds Are to the Left. Tim Chewin.
Jenna from
the Board Game. Jenna and Francis from the Board Game Garden.
Francis is going to be?
Yeah, Francis is going to be there. We're going to play Kiwi.
Attaboy, Francis.
Board Game Co. and Professor Meg. We have an all-star lineup, people. So don't forget to follow us on Twitch, because that's where all the action's going to happen. Jeff's going to be up at 2 a.m. playing games just for Dan.
I am going to give it a college try. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but...
Love it.
I need some Red Bulls.
If you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon, and now we say goodbye. Goodbye!
Later days.
Gotta be quick.
You don't like the lights when it's daytime? I like it better.
See, the way that it looks...
It looks really good right now.
It looks really good, but I don't know... I think it's because, like, the sun's not in. Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
Like, there's a specific time of day when it's good.
Like right now?
Yeah, like right now. What's the time? Mark it.
It's like right at noon.
Right at noon. Everybody, can you remember that, please? That'd be great. When I edit it. Edit it. Did it? That was all. Topic.
Next up, we have... Is there a 4 card?
Yep. And it's right there.